Hello, good day everyone, and you're welcome back to the channel. It's good to have you back here. Remember to like our content, share our content, and subscribe to our channel. We hope to continue to give you good content, good academic content. Now, today we are discussing epidemiology, an introduction into epidemiology. Now, to try to broaden our horizon in this channel, we're also going to be taking on public health topics because I have a degree in public health also, and so we'll try to discuss public health concepts along the way. Now, today we're going to discuss epidemiology. What is epidemiology? Now, that word epidemiology came from a Greek word, and it can be broken into two: epi and demos. Now, epi means something that comes upon somebody, something that comes upon people, and demos talks about population. So something that comes upon a population, that is what epidemiology is. That's the root word from Greek. Now, the question is, so what's epidemiology? Epidemiology is a scientific study. It's a part of public health, a very important part of public health, and it's been defined in quite a number of ways. Now, the most common or most widely used definition for epidemiology today says that epidemiology is the study of the determinants of a disease, the determinants and distribution of a disease. Now, we have gone further to even refine that definition to say that epidemiology is the study of the determinants and distribution of health-related events, health-related issues and events. Now, what do we mean by health-related issues and events? In the earlier stages when epidemiology was being used or was being designed as a study, it was more of a study of epidemics. It was a study of situation that arises or gives rise to epidemics, all the things that concern how an epidemic comes to play. And you know what an epidemic is? When you have an unusual high prevalence, a surge in the number of cases of a particular disease over a very short period of time. We refer to that as an epidemic. That was during the formative stages of epidemiology. But today, epidemiology simply talks about the determinants and distribution for health-related events. So it's not just epidemics now. It contains all sorts of diseases, chronic diseases, infectious diseases, and then even other health-related events. You know, like smoking, like the use of seat belts, the use of fluoride toothpaste, so many other things now joined together in this discipline that we call epidemiology. Now, very quickly, just look at those three terms, try to break them down, and look at what they mean. Now, the first term is distribution. Now, what's distribution? Distribution talks about the spread of a disease, the place where the disease can be found, the location of the disease. Now, when we talk about distribution, we talk about two major terms under distribution that it's important. The first term under distribution that is important is frequency, and the other term is the first term is frequency, and the other term is pattern. Sorry. Now, frequency just talks about number of cases. Excuse me. Frequency just talks about the number of cases. How many cases do we have of a particular health-related issue or event in a particular locality? That's what we talk about when we say frequency, the number of cases. Now, when we talk about pattern speaks to the issue of spread. Actually, we can now begin to ask ourselves that where is the place where this disease is found? What's the geographical variation of this disease? Where are the places where you can find it? What's the spread like? Is it an annual disease? What the disease when it comes forth? What does it look like? Is it annual? Is it weekly? Is it hourly? All these kind of things are what we look at when we are looking at the pattern of a disease. So when you talk about distribution, we talks about spread. You're talking about two major things: the frequency, that's what's the number of cases, and secondly the pattern. What is it like? In what localities can it be found, and how frequently does it occur? Now, apart from distribution, another serious term that we look at under the definition of epidemiology is we have distribution, then we have determinants. What are determinants? Determinants are risk factors. So when you talk about determinants, you talk about two major things also. You talk about the cause of a disease and the risk factors of the disease. When you're talking about cause, if it's an infectious disease, that's quite easy. You simply link the infectious disease to an infectious agent. So if it's malaria, you link it to plasmodium. If it is typhoid, you link it to salmonella. So that's quite easy. Now, if it is a chronic disease such as diabetes, such as cancer, those ones are more difficult to link to particular infectious agents or causative agents. We will begin to link them to particular situations or conditions which have causal relationships with these chronic diseases like smoking and lung cancer, like alcohol use and diabetes. So that speaks to the issue of cause. And then the second thing under the determinants of disease is risk factors. And what do we mean by risk factors? We mean predisposing factors. Those are these factors that make a person more prone to coming down with a disease. These are what we refer to as the risk factors. For an example, if you're talking of a disease like cervical cancer, the risk factors include gender, being a woman. So you have to be a woman and have a cervix before you can be at risk of coming down with cervical cancer. So the risk factor is being a woman. If it's prostate cancer, you're talking about by being a man, you are at risk of having prostate cancer. So that's what risk factors means. Those factors that predispose a person, that make it more likely that a person can come down with a disease. And the last point to note in the definition of epidemiology is health-related issues. This speaks to all sorts of issues. It could be diseases, whether it is chronic diseases or acute diseases, or even all different kinds of conditions. All of this is what we have in the definition of epidemiology. I hope you understand what epidemiology is. Let me round off by saying that an epidemiologist is someone who is looked at as a disease detective, someone who wants to know the what, the how, the why, and everything that concerns a disease and be able to get information, provide information about that disease within the locality. Thank you for listening to this class and do have a wonderful day.